What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie. Today, I'd like to talk about Frank Zappa, the Zappa Family Trusts, whoever's releasing this stuff. Who cares? Because the latest release is out, Whisky, A Go-Go, 1968. And yeah, man, it's fantastic. I've only listened to one disc. What I'm going to do with this is listen to each of the 3 discs and then make a video on each disc. One, to make each video shorter, but also to be able to devote a little more time to each one. And then plus my reaction can be a little more immediate. I literally minutes ago just finished listening to disc 1. So I have thoughts on disc 1. I'm going to go song by song, the 12 songs that are on here. Though one of the tracks is a talking track, Frank introducing, the concept of the evening. But yeah, this is a complete concert from July 23rd, 1968 at the Whisky A Go-Go in Los Angeles, or in North Hollywood to be. I don't know where it actually was, the actual address is. My mom lives literally right over the hill from here. This is the Mothers of 68, which include, who do we got? We got Ray Collins, proving almost immediately that he might have been the best vocalist Frank ever had. Yeah, other people could do probably vocal gymnastics that he couldn't. But Ray Collins' voice, man, oh my goodness. You got 3 saxophonists. You got Ian on alto, Bunk on tenor, Motorhead on baritone. Don Preston is there on keys. The original bass player is there on bass. Art Tripp is around on drums and percussion, and Jimmy Carl Black, the Indian of the group, is there. Plus, I think Collins plays percussion, Don plays percussion, Motorhead plays percussion. I'm sure Frank played percussion at some point. A lot of percussion going on. You also have some guest stars that show up, at least on this disc. Frank talks about others that might show up throughout the evening. One of them shows up for the first half of, I'm assuming a good third of this set, maybe the first half of this set. And then we get an announcement at the end of the disc that I'll talk about when I get there. But anyways, yeah. So it's that Mothers. It's a pretty great sounding recording. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's from 68, but it's pretty good quality. Better quality than some of the 60s Dead releases that have come out, which I think are also still pretty good. You can hear, I mean, things might get cluttered at times, but you can hear what you need to hear. But it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Disc 1 it's absolutely fantastic. I've been like writing about Frank Zappa since the early days of the internet, with a whole bunch of other Zappa people from around the globe. And I think the one wish that has always been consistent from anybody is really good original Mothers or 60s Mothers concerts. We've really only got a handful. We got the Ahead of Their Time, which was an interesting thing because it involved a performance. We got the road tapes, which was actually a pretty good one. But now we got this. And this really is, at least as far as disc 1 goes, exactly what I was hoping it would be. It might even pass my expectations a little bit, exceed my expectations. So yeah, there are 12 songs on the first, or 12 tracks on the first disc. The thing opens up with a Whisky improvisation, episode 1. And this is the first 3 minutes of this is pretty much all percussion. A lot of just the regular drum kit, percussion comes in. Throughout, you can tell there's conducting going on by Frank because there's little noises, keyboard noises, horn noises that kind of get interjected. But it's a very percussive, heavy for about the first 5 minutes, a very interesting way to open up the disc. I'm interested to read reviews of this, of like non-Frank Zappa fans, to say, you buy this is a 3 CD box set, and the first 5 minutes is like a drum solo essentially, or percussion solo. Very interesting way to start off. As it goes on, Frank's conducting, leading other people in. Preston comes in early. His keyboards are absolutely awesome. And eventually we go into this lounge music type thing. Collins is going off and doing some awesome improvising. At one point, conceptual continuity number 1, Frank says, "What's the name of your group?" giving us early signs of where we would be in a couple years with the groupie routine and Flo and Eddie. Um, Once we hit that lounge music, we riff on that for a while, and then that eventually, after 10 minutes of this, most of the first half of which is mostly percussive, the second half, other instruments come in, and we go into a lounge music vibe. We segue into America Drinks and Goes Home. Absolutely fantastic. Ray Collins, baby. Ray Collins. Ray Collins. Just absolutely amazing. After they finish America Drinks and Goes Home, Frank steps to the mic and talks about how the next song they're going to play, they had played previously while they were doing tours around Los Angeles. And they were told not to play the song because people couldn't dance to it. And that's, they wanted people to dance to the song. And so they got like sort of, banned from playing the circuit for a while. They were not welcome back. And Frank's like, but we're going to play that song anyways. And here it comes. And that song is Help I'm a Rock, Transylvania Boogie. This is, I think, the best Help I'm a Rock that's been released. I think it's better than the Freak Out version, which is, darn near perfect. One of my top 10 favorite Frank Zappa tracks. And this is just, it is amazing. Right before they start the song, he invites Kim Fowley on stage, who does, I think, he's the one who does the really crazy noises on the original track. And he is just killing it. This is 8.5 minutes. It includes a good 4 minutes of Help I'm a Rock, with Frank almost being overshadowed by all the vocal craziness going on in the background, the yelps and the yips and the weird noises. It is amazing. Frank eventually steps up and plays a pretty quick run through of Transylvania Boogie, of like the key sort of melodic phrases from that. And then that leads into a sax solo that is either bunk or Motorhead. I have not read anything about this. I haven't looked at any liner notes or anything. I'm going into this as unprepared as possible and just trying to absorb the music. But it's a pretty low saxophone solo. Might be bunk. At times it sounds like Motorhead. I'm not sure, but it's pretty funky, pretty good. Frank kind of steps away from the guitar and makes way for that solo. Then the two of them kind of go at it for a little while, kind of going at, I think this is the one where they kind of trade solos. No, I think that's a later song. But it's really good. The vocal chaos throughout the entire thing, I think Kim Fowley is doing it for this entire track. It's amazing. This is the best sounding Help I'm a Rock. It is just such a groove. The band sounds so tight and so locked in. That eventually goes right into My Boyfriend's Back, which sounds sleazy. It sounds wrong. It's exactly what the Mothers, did to these type of songs. They kind of just subverted them. It sounds like that. That goes into something called Bust His Head, which starts off a little slower, and Ray Collins comes in again, and it's like, oh my goodness, what a voice. And he is beautiful. Like, what he is doing is sincere, and Collins is giving it his all. But then the background vocals, I think it's Frank doing like the background singing. It's just irreverent and meant to sound wrong. And it's the Mothers doing what the Mothers do fantastically well. And then that goes into a Tiny Sick Tears jam. We don't really get any narrative sort of Tiny Sick Tears action from Frank. They just jam on that groove. And it is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of Sakatumis going on in the background. Frank starts playing these really nice jazzy licks. This gives way to a saxophone solo that I think is Ian, but I'm not sure. Then he and Frank, this is where the sax and the guitar player kind of interact for a while. Frank eventually gets more electric and starts dropping in some really nice, tasty licks in there. Drops a really nice sort of in the pocket solo. Like, Frank is very much grooving with the band. The energy in this is just absolutely fantastic. I think it's Fowley, because it doesn't sound like Ray Collins, keeps yelling, "You got to grab your hands. You got to grab your hands." And he's getting a lot of freedom to just go off vocally. It might be someone else, but I think it's Kim Fowley doing it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It might be in the liner notes, but I haven't looked at them yet. We get a little bit of a drum solo, and then the end of this, how long is this? 8 minutes of jamming. Frank's kind of conducting the band a little more. We get some sort of typical Mothers motifs instrumentally. And then finally we get, the song ends. That's like almost between 30 and 35 minutes. It's like 33 minutes of just non-stop awesomeness to open up this show, from the opening Whisky improv all the way through Tiny Sick Tears. And it is it is some of the best stuff that's been released. It is just absolutely fantastic. Frank then steps up. We get the purpose of this evening. Talks about all the people that are going to appear throughout the night. Um, and then he, says they're recording it to finally get like some live mothers recording. Said they had tried to record the Miami show, but something happened there. Nothing has been released from that Miami show, so apparently those recordings were lost. I'm pretty sure there's a live King Kong that's floating around that might be from that Miami show. But that's a shame that they tried to record it earlier and apparently it just didn't work. So then we get the second improv of the night. And this is just a whole different beast from the first one. This one starts off with Preston solo on the piano, like an electric piano, I think is what it is. Maybe just a keyboard. But then other instruments come in as Frank brings them in. I think the bass player comes in. Then Frank comes in. We get some nice horns just interjecting little bits. And we get into a groove that reminds me a lot of something the 72 Petite Wazoo would play. Something similar to, but not quite like Trudging Across the Tundra or anything you could hear on like Little Dots. Those sort of slightly Middle Eastern, not too aggressive, but really just this nice chill kind of groove that everybody can come in and out of and solo over. Kind of low key, flirting with little Middle Eastern energy, but never quite going fully there. It's just an absolutely amazing jam. And we get about 5 minutes of that before that breaks down. And then we go into this other just also kind of low key groove, but that slowly builds and builds. And Frank keeps kind of bringing in other instruments, and it ends with a pretty kind of hectic sax solo. But it's just, again, this is 11 and a half minutes of just an awesome improvisation of Frank just like telling, hey, Preston, play something in G. And then after Preston starts playing something, Frank just builds it and everybody just follows his cue. And it's 11 minutes of improvisational just magic. Like, it is so good. And then after that, we slide right into Status Back Baby. Just a great Status Back Baby. It says it's 5 minutes long on the CD, but half of that is, the song is its normal length, and the song ends, and then we get like audience noise. Ray Collins asks the crowd, what do you want to hear? Any requests? And then everybody yells, like gets crazy for a couple, like 30 seconds. And then Ray's like, we'll play all of them. So that's pretty cool. And then we get 3 more songs to close out the disc. Memories of El Monte into Oh in the Sky. These were both released on the Zappa motion picture soundtrack. And so Memories of El Monte is great. It's essentially just Memories of El Monte. And then Frank kind of goes off on this little riff and just starts name dropping songs, total of 7 songs. And he name drops them, and Ray just will sing a line or sing a couple lines. The band knows the song and they go with him. At one point he drops Night Owl, and I think Frank sings Night Owl and the band all sings that. But it's just like Frank going, hey, sing this song by this band, and Ray will sing a couple lines. It's pretty awesome. And then the 8th song that he mentions is Oh in the Sky, and the band goes into Oh in the Sky, which is the track after Memories of El Monte. And then there's another song referenced in that. So in this little 6+ minutes of music, there's like 9 different songs that the band references and plays other than Memories of El Monte. And then Oh in the Sky ends, and we close out the disc with a beautiful version of Valerie. Frank does a little like nice Valerie monologue in there about, girl and hooking up with her. And we get our second conceptual continuity clue, and he ends that little rant by saying, oh, and you gave me the clap. So we get that. And then the song ends. And then to end the disc in a way that I maybe wish they had cut this out because it's not part of the music. But at this point, this was the first set of the night. Because the mothers take a break, and then Alice Cooper was going to come on and play, or does come on and play. I really would have liked to have heard that set. Maybe they didn't record it. I can't imagine that they didn't. You think that they would, being that they were recording everything else. But I would buy the box set that has the Alice Cooper set on it. So I wish is that out there otherwise? I know Alice Cooper's been re-releasing a lot of his stuff recently. I don't know if there's an early if this has been released or he has permission to even have this. But that would have been awesome to hear. But yeah, that's disc one. And it's ridiculously fantastic. Fantastic. I am super excited to listen to disc two. I'm going to eat lunch first, and then I'm going to listen to disc two and make another video. And hopefully that one will be as absolutely ridiculously fantastic as disc one. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So far, is money well spent? If you've listened to it, let me know, all that stuff. Subscribe, like, share, comment. And yeah, this is fantastic so far. Yeah, Whiskey A Go-Go 1968 disc one. It's delivering it. I'm rambling. Gonna go eat lunch. Peace. Talk to you later.